Hi, this is Alyssa Lee with Who Let Us Out. It is wonderful to meet you. I've been wanting this interview for so long because Vanessa Fisk is one of my favorite characters, and I feel like having her back this time around has made the show even better. So I did want to ask you, what does it feel like, first of all, to be back? Because this is one of the most popular Marvel shows, and I think one of the best, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so lovely. Thanks for saying that. Um, well, it was shocking because at first it wasn't meant to be, and then it was meant to be, and then when we started working on it, I flipped over the changes and where it was going, and it took me a minute to adjust and like her again and find her again. But when I did, suddenly like had a whole um aha moment where I understood why and what Dario was doing for her and why he was doing what he's doing and where it was going. And so for me, it was really exciting. And also to work with Vincent again, who was the first person to call me and to say, hey, just so you know, you know, this is happening. So it was exciting.
Oh, that's so fun. Thank you for sharing that. When I was speaking to Vincent, I was telling him that, I still sympathize with Kingpin, even though he's done all of these awful things. And I think, he explained also one of the reasons is because of his love for Vanessa. And, this time around, it's the marriage and everything is not as simple as it was. And I feel like Vanessa loves being the boss in a way. And she's like, well, I have my own thing going on. And seeing him come back, I feel like initially may kind of annoy her. And then later down the line, we learn like, they still love each other. What was, like, it different this time around for you and, Vanessa changing for you?
You know, I had scenes without Fisk for the first time because in the first three seasons, I only had two scenes with someone else. So for me, he was my world. And so to have scenes outside of him was at first shocking. I wasn't sure that he was going to work for me and how he's going to work for me and what, like, how does she, because for me, she was always like this, there was always like an interesting wave between sensibility and sensuality and gentleness and light, uh, um, and at the same time a lot of power in dealing with a man like that, like a lion tamer in a way. But now I'm dealing with other characters and other people. How do I do that? So there was a little bit of a question around that, but I found it really fast and really quickly. And I think partially because time had passed and I have grown as well as my characters, Vanessa, and I sort of grew into my power as well as a woman. So I understand where she's coming from, but I think it's also there's something to say about the duality of where she is. She's not really just holding on to power for power. I think power serves something else for her,
Exactly, and I think it was also
just like
nice.
him, by the way.
Exactly, and I think it was also nice to see a woman in power in the show too, because, we have a lot of men doing everything,
Yeah,
and then we do have powerful women that have come in the past, and I'm sure they will come again, but I think
yeah,
that was a really good touch, so I really love, like, seeing Vanessa step into that.
yeah.
Now, I wanna get your reaction, knowing what you know, knowing what we know about the rest of the season, to that first shocker that we saw in the episode with Foggy's death. Like, what was your reaction to that? And then obviously seeing how fans reacted.
Oh gosh, it was heartbreaking. When you read something on a page, it's one thing. But when you see it in the show and you understand the consequences, and I also know what happened and who drove um, this car to where it is, this whole thing was like devastating to watch. Um, and also for Daredevil point of view, I love how he was sitting on top, and crying and feeling his pain. It was such a beautiful scene, and also really interesting how they shot it in like one long shot. It was really nice.
Yeah, and it was
But
hard.
for Vanessa, I think she's in trouble.
Mhm. It was hard to hold that in too after seeing that the 2 episodes before everyone and then having to, like, hide that from the world. I was like, "Oh my god, like, I can't. I'm, like, mentally heartbroken right now."
Yes.
But, I wanna get into, Vanessa being in trouble without spoiling it, but how do you think people will react when they find out? And I'll probably not release this till the end of the season, but how do you think fans will react?
To what really happening? Well, how would people react? You know, it's really interesting. I usually don't look at people's reactions and read what people say. But in Daredevil, I do because I am so in love with the way people react emotionally. They're so involved and they have so much, they think it's going one way and I know it's going the other way. And it's just so much fun to see the involvement and how people care. Um, I think some of the people will flip. Yeah.
But I still don't think they'll be mad, at the character personally, because 'cause we've developed, like, a love for the character. So in my head, like, I was very mad, but I was mad that it was that person because I'm like, "No, I have so much love for this character, why?"
I
But
think
yeah,
Vanessa does everything from love. So how can you hate her for that?
exactly. So I do wanna touch on another moment. I think it's either the episode before the final episode, but when Daredevil saves these 2 people, that was very surprising for me because it's like, even knowing what he knows, he still steps out and does, in his eyes, what is the right thing, and I was like, "Wow," knowing that, this situation caused him so much heartbreak. For me, that was like, this is chef's kiss. So what was your reaction being in that scene and just, seeing that overall?
Well, I think it goes to show the good writing because the one big theme of this season is can you fight your true nature? And I think that's his true nature. Even though, he had to step in and go back to being Daredevil, he eventually down the line, no matter what, he's good on the inside. So to me, that's amazing. And so and also that reflects on the other characters. Are they good on the inside?
Yeah. And I love that because that also bounces back to the scene with the Punisher where he's like, "Are you gonna continue to let these people live and see what happens to you?" And I think it's such a moral code that we see on screen and we're like, "Man, if he had done this, this wouldn't have happened," but then it would completely take away from who he is. And I think that's what I love about the show. It does bring these questions up for us to answer. So I do wanna kind of go back to this week's episode. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, Vanessa set up Kingpin," but, in my heart, I'm like, "They would never do that," it's not they both in the end, even if they go through something, they're gonna work together, and I think that's what I love about the relationship. What was, being in that episode like, knowing that, people are gonna be like, "Oh my god, like, is this the end of their marriage? Would she set him up? Would he set her up?" What was that experience like?
Um, when you film something, you don't necessarily know how people will react to that, and sometimes you don't even think about it. But in this particular episode, I think people it the creators meant for people to be confused, and so you know, even though I was playing one specific thing, the way they shot it and the way they edited it created a place of question. But I know what I've done. So, um, for the people who did watch it and know what we're talking about, they'll understand that it comes from love.
Exactly, and, like, at the end of that episode, even before I watched the rest of the episodes, I was like, "No, I know I'm right." Like, I know it. When you know a character so well, you're like, "No, I know what I know is right, and I know this is gonna happen in the future." So I just love what they're doing, but I wanna ask you personally, what has been your favorite moment throughout Daredevil? Every single, prior season and Daredevil Born Again.
I think the marriage therapy were my most favorite scenes. One, because Vanessa gets to say something about her personal life, how she grew up, which we never done, we rarely seen before. Um, and we see her pain as well as her complicated demeanor, you know. And she's reserved, but yet showing. So there's a lot going on, which I really really like. But I do love the finale too.
The finale is definitely epic. And back to the therapy, I love that this
Yes.
show makes shows that there's normal stuff that goes on between everything else, you know, with a lot of other superhero stuff. We don't really see them like I wouldn't say I don't see them eating, but we see Wilson eating omelets and having dinner,
Yeah.
and it actually turned into a meme, like, "Can you make an omelet like Wilson Fisk?"
Yes, I know.
So I love that it's, like, created these moments, and it's almost more human in a way. So I do wanna ask, what is your favorite characteristic about Kingpin? So online, there are a lot of fun things, like, people will I actually did it myself. They'll remake scenes where it'll be like, "When I was a boy," and it's just really funny, and I think his characteristic is just so fun, even though, you know, he's Kingpin. What would be your favorite characteristic about Kingpin?
I like when he laughs in the wrong places.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Um, for example, there's a scene like that. I think it's six where we have all the rich New Yorkers coming into the, and he tells me, you know, about politics and then about Luca, and he laughs.
Oh my
So
god.
he does that sometimes, and he does it in the wrong places. It's so funny. It's like,
And
yeah,
it just adds
Vanessa
to the
accepts that, and which I love. So these are one of my favorite places where Vincent does that.
thank you, and it just adds to, like, the small pieces of comedy that is in within the show.
Yes,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
and then there's the episode with the I think it's the police chief. That one was very shocking for me. That one was like, I really wanted that specific character to prevail without, like, you know, revealing too much. But for you, has there been, like, a extremely shocking episode that you were like, "Whoa." I mean, I know the first episode was already shocking, but is there a specific one for you that was like, "Wow."
Almost every episode, I'm like having a heart attack. I'm like, what? No, or what? What am I doing? Yeah, most episodes I'm shocked. The Adam,
That was wild. I didn't expect that at all.
that probably the wildest, I guess.
But, like, I'm kind of happy that Kingpin, you know I was like, "I don't want the marriage to be messed up."
Yeah. I mean,
But it was
they will end up together. There's no way for these people not to end up together. So,
it's just not happening, like, I can't see it. I feel like it's a very, like, staple part of the show,
isn't it
and
funny how we are so in love with love? Doesn't
even in
matter who it is, but you experience love through the love that you see on screen.
yeah, and it's like no matter what's going on, we still want it to prevail. It's wild. It's like love will always prevail no matter what.
Yeah.
It's,
It's
you know,
such
why I
a good
love this show,
point.
it ends so well. Now, I know you're probably not allowed to tease too much, but what do you think is in the future for Vanessa?
I know what's in the future. I read it. I can't say. I can't say.
As long as we see more of you, I'm happy.
I hope so.
I think we will. I think I have to wrap, but this has been so amazing. If there's anything you want to add to close off, the floor is yours.
I mean, I just want to thank you and people like you that are hardcore fans and follow the show and really dig into the depth of it, and I love it and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, thank you for bringing us the show and making us fall in love with your characters. It wouldn't be the same without you all. And thank you for taking the time out to speak with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.